All right. Well, speaking of MAGA, Marjorie Taylor Greene is receiving threats from MAGA. And, this segment is called Better Do Better. And we do have some MAGA folks that listen and they get all bent out of shape after every episode and they want to send us DMs and all that sort of stuff. But for those MAGA folks that are tuned in, I think this is for you. You better do better. Okay. I'll share a little bit of background. It's from NBC. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican from Georgia, who was once one of President Donald Trump's most vocal supporters, said Saturday that she's facing threats after the president criticized her on social media. Quote, "I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped get elected," unquote. Greene wrote on X on Saturday. Quote, "As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid. This is completely shocking to everyone," unquote, the Congresswoman added in her post. Greene's revelation comes after Trump attacked the Congresswoman in a post on social media and rescinded his endorsement of her, calling her wacky and accusing her of complaining too much. The president also suggested that he could back a primary challenger against her. The White House and the U.S. Capitol Police didn't immediately respond to requests for comment on Greene's social media posts. Capitol Police have said that the rate of threats against politicians, including members of Congress, has risen in recent years. So, for the MAGA folks who, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, have adopted the notion that political violence comes from the left. Now I want you to take a look in the mirror, because Q and I have already gone over the data. The data, it doesn't matter where you get your data from. The data suggests that the vast majority, it's not close. It's not neck and neck. It's not comparable. The vast majority of political violence comes from the right. That would be Trump supporters. Okay. If you ignore the data, which a lot of people do, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It comes from Trump's own Department of Justice. It can come from the FBI. It can come from, a university, whatever. They'll figure out a way to dismiss it. You can look at yourself in the mirror and see the most, I think, significant data of all. Okay. MAGA is threatening Marjorie Taylor Greene for disagreeing with Donald Trump on some issues. She's not, and I don't imagine she would ever be a full-blown Democrat. This is one of y'all, and she just is like, look, I agree with him 98% of the time. But MAGA is so angry that they're sending threats her way for not being lock in step with Donald Trump. So not only do you have this sort of cultish behavior, Donald Trump is the supreme being and we all need to bow to his whim, but now you can see where the violence is coming from. And I hope that you do. I don't want to talk this whole thing up because I know, Q, you want to share a couple thoughts at least, but I think there's a lesson there for all the MAGA folks. Go ahead, Q.
I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, smart enough to attempt to rebrand. I hear people anxious to paint her as redeemed. Paint her as someone who's learned a lesson, who's turned a corner, who's on the right side of this now. No. At some point, and Ramses has said this a lot of times, at some point MAGA goes away and you still have to live here. His policies have never been popular. He just has a zealot-like cult base. However, and this is the sad part, and we're going to speak to this, not everybody that voted for him is MAGA.
Yeah.
And those people are now looking at each other like, yo, people can see us
Hmm.
aligned with this man on everything. Maybe we should pivot. Maybe we should do something different. You're still complicit, Marjorie. So like good luck in whatever you do next. But I'm not patting you on your back for this. Nobody's getting credit for acknowledging that what that man and his friends did to children was wrong and demanding transparency on it.
Stick around. We'll be back with more after this.